2022 has already been an amazing year for gaming, and we are not even through yet, but 2023, buckle up, because it's going to be absolutely insane. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Chaos here. Today, we're going to go over the absolute best PS5 games that are coming in 2023. Now, the PlayStation 5 has been a big success. The system has been getting negative press because they raised the price, which I don't get, but it's loaded with great games. So today, let's look at what's coming. Now, keep in mind, not all of these are exclusive games or first-party games. We're going to look at absolutely everything coming to the console in 2023, because great games, they can come from any studio. Let me know which of these you're most excited for. Drop a like, and let's start off with Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. We were actually supposed to get this game later this year, but it got delayed, which I'm okay with. In the modern world, I'm always okay with a game being delayed for polish, because I would rather that it just come out, I would rather it come out not broken, right? Frontiers of Pandora is currently in development at Massive Entertainment. Judging by early insider reports, it's really good. According to people who have seen the game in its current state, it looks incredible, but the gameplay needs work, which shouldn't be a point of concern since it was recently given at least another year in the oven. Now, Frontiers of Pandora is shaping up to be a worthy video game adaptation of James Cameron's world, and after the hype generated by the long-awaited sequels, it's going to be a super hype game. Before we move on, guys, come check out the Chaos Comics Discord. We launched a server, we've got all kinds of cool things going on over there. We're running weekly giveaways, all kinds of interaction. If you guys want to talk with me, I'm on there every single day. Let me know you came from the main channel. Link is at the top of the description. Payday 3. Speaking of super hype games, Payday 3 was first announced back in 2016, but due to a number of behind-the-scenes issues, it was pushed back. It's finally dropping next year, and the gaming world is ready. It's been forever. Payday is one of the most beloved co-op franchises in gaming history, and Payday 2 is still one of the most popular games on Steam, almost a decade after it launched. The story will pick up where the second game left off, and while the gameplay skeleton will be more or less the same as before, the weapons and the gadgets, they will all be updated for modern era, and concepts like cryptocurrency and blockchain technology will probably be incorporated into the story to make it feel more modern. I'm ready for Payday 3. I mean, it's time. And it's time we got another really good co-op shooter. One of my favorites, one of my most anticipated games, Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. Rocksteady are responsible for crafting the Arkham series of games, basically redefining what we expected from superhero games. Granted, they haven't released a game since 2015's Arkham Knight, but they're coming, and they're coming in hot. I mean, in this, you will take control of the supervillains and send you on a mission to hunt down and eliminate brainwashed versions of the Justice League in dramatic confrontations. You get to play as Harley, King Shark, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang. It looks fun. The Arkhamverse is finally back, and Suicide Squad is set to hit the PS5 in the first half of 2023. Street Fighter 6. Now, if you're a fan of one-on-one fighting games, you have Street Fighter to thank for that. Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I mean, Street Fighter 2 basically invented the fighting game genre as we know it, and the latest installment is finally coming next year to PC and consoles. 6 will feature some awesome fighting mechanics, including the new drive gauge and the return of multiple super combos from the Street Fighter Alpha subseries. Plus, there's even going to be a full-fledged 3D single-player mode called World Tour, something brand new to the series. It's going to be one of Capcom's biggest releases next year, so expect a huge marketing budget kickoff campaign in the next few months. No release date yet, but it's coming in 2023. RoboCop Rogue City. This is a game I wasn't expecting to be excited for, but here I am. Upcoming first-person shooter based on the iconic action movie franchise, and is reportedly going to follow mainly in the footsteps of RoboCop 1 and 2 for its tone and visual style, which I'm here for. The project is being developed by Tion, who recently were behind the surprisingly excellent Terminator Resistance. The studio has seriously redeemed themselves since the abysmal Rambo the video game. Yep, that's them. I'm excited. They care about classic action movies, and after they did Terminator justice, I'm ready for RoboCop. Now, I don't think we've ever gotten a good RoboCop game. You can let me know if I'm wrong, or one that's ever broke 80 on Metacritic, so we're due. Hogwarts Legacy. This game keeps getting pushed back, but the hype, it keeps growing. Long-awaited RPG set about 100 years before the events of the first Harry Potter book, and you'll take on the role of a new student at the legendary Wizarding Academy. Now, Hogwarts, it's had troubled development, but I think it's worth it. The collector's edition was just revealed, and it looks like the kind of thing that fans of this series are going to go nuts for. It's got a freaking floating wand on a book. Hopefully, this game lives up to the legacy of the franchise, and this could be a decade-defining game. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now, Respawn Entertainment, they took the world by surprise when they released Jedi Fallen Order. It was their first attempt at a non-FPS game. they knocked it out of the park. It was engaging, Star Wars adaptation, Dark Souls formula mix in there, story helped fill in the gaps between episodes 3 and 4, and there was some amazing eye candy. Now, the sequel has been in development for quite some time, and since Respawn is even better funded than they were before, this is going to be bigger and better. Jedi Survivor is launching next year, so keep an eye out when the date goes live. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty incredible collector's edition that becomes available as well. Dead Island 2, I'm smiling right now. The game has been in development for the longest time, jumping from developer to developer. Dead Island 1 came out in 2011. Now, there's been a handful of spin-offs, but the direct sequel is coming in February of 2023. Surprisingly, it's going to launch on both the current and the past-gen consoles, but I guess that kind of makes sense when you consider how long it's been in the works. The game is set in Southern California, and judging by the trailer, the team absolutely nailed the atmosphere and the vibe of that area. The gameplay looks addicting, the gore effects are going to be awesome, and the tone seems to be spot on for a sequel to Dead Island. Hopefully, it lives up to the decade of anticipation, and we don't have another Duke Nukem on our hands. Alan Wake 2, talking about anticipation. If you've never played Alan Wake, it is a cult classic action-adventure just masterpiece. Dropped 12 years ago. The developers, Remedy Entertainment, would later go on to make a much more commercially successful game, Control, and then Quantum Break, but they're finally releasing an official sequel next year to the game that started it. Alan Wake 2 was announced at the 2021 Game Awards and is finally dropping next year on the PC and current-gen consoles, and according to the studio, it will be a survival horror game instead of an action-adventure one like the last one, but the story is going to be standalone, meaning you don't have to play the first game to understand it. Segue into horror games, let's keep it going. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, developed by Sumo Digital. This is the latest asymmetrical horror PvP game to be based on the classic movie, and I am good with this trend. Games like Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight, they have popularized the horror multiplayer genre, and despite the Texas Chainsaw Massacre being so iconic, we've never really gotten a good video game based on it. Yes, Leatherface showed up in Mortal Kombat X, but that's not the same. It's going to be a unique take on an asymmetrical multiplayer horror game, and it's likely going to take a lot of ideas from the previously mentioned contemporaries, Friday the 13th, Dead by Daylight, but with a unique tone. The early trailers look promising, and as a big fan of classic horror movies, I'm ready. Speaking of that, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game. Now, I may get some heat for putting this game so high, but I really don't care. Of all the Gamescom announcements I was not expecting, this wasn't even on the list or it was nowhere. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is this bizarre, hilarious, and strangely unsettling cult classic horror movie from 1988. It's about a group of aliens disguised as clowns running around terrorizing an American town. The practical effects were actually pretty impressive for the time, and it had that perfect B-movie tone and style. It was recently announced that some of the people behind the Friday the 13th video game were actually making a multiplayer game based on Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And even though it was wrote off as another asymmetrical horror game, I don't think so. The trailer made it look like a bizarre mix of Mario Party and Friday the 13th. It looks awesome. Plus, the studio knows how to pay homage to classic horror movies and to do them justice. I'm ready. I know you don't think it should be this high, but it's my video. Resident Evil 4 the remake. I'm skeptical. I know I'm not alone. RE4 is one of the greatest games ever made, so when you make a remake, you have to do it with caution. Early leaks of it have been mixed, with some of the new ideas being excellent additions to the original, while others are completely unwelcome by the community. Now, we're yet to see any real gameplay from this game, but the Capcom on the winning streak with their latest few Resident Evil titles, I'm confident, but I'm skeptical. May not be as good as the original. I'm sure plenty of people are going to rip it apart, but I think it has potential. The game's release date is currently March 24th of next year. Final Fantasy 16. Whenever a new mainline Final Fantasy comes out, it's a big deal. One of the longest running franchises in gaming history, and the influence it's had on the RPG genre over the decades is undeniable. It's finally coming out between quarters 2 and 3 of next year, and it will be a timed PS5 exclusive. The game has been in development for a long time. The team is passionate, making sure absolutely everything is perfect before it ships, which I can appreciate, especially in the current gaming economy. They've done their best to keep things under wraps, but from what we've seen, it looks good. If you enjoyed Final Fantasy 15 or FF7 the remake, you're probably going to pick this up day one. Speaking of that, Final Fantasy VII Remake Rebirth. Did you ever wonder why the Final Fantasy VII Remake from a few years ago only covered about 25% of the original game's story? Well, the story is finally progressing. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually going to be a trilogy of games, with the first release retroactively be called Part 1 and the second part coming next year called Rebirth. Second installment in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy will pick up where the first game left off and continue the original story while introducing tons of new gameplay elements and subplots. By the time all 3 FF7 Remake games are released, The actual final product is going to be like 200 hours long. Insane. And at number 1 today, Spider-Man 2. Here it is. The 2018 Spider-Man game was a masterpiece. It perfectly brought the character to life in video game form and provided us with the best Spidey combat and web swinging we've had. Insomniac is the best. Long-awaited sequel coming next year. Judging by the early trailers and promotional material, it's going to star both Peter and Miles as they set up to fight a laundry list of villains, including Kraven the Hunter and Venom. I have my own theories about the story itself, but if this game is even half as good as the 2018 version, yeah. There's no official release date, but it's expected to drop next year, likely around the summer, so make sure you have your $70 set aside. You are not going to want to miss this one. There you have it, my friends. Let me know one PS5 game you're looking forward to that didn't make the list, and I'll see you soon.